Hey everyone, welcome to Looporama. Today we're discussing all of my brutally honest thoughts on Parc Astérix, and I kinda just want to dive into everything that I noticed, the good, the bad, the ugly. Though overall I do believe this is one of the strongest parks not only France but all of Europe has to offer. Parc Astérix opened in 1989 and is located in Plailly, France, just outside the Paris metro region, and it currently receives almost 3 million visitors a year, and the park is centered around the French comic book series Astérix. I want to start this video off by saying that overall my impressions of Parc Astérix are very positive. It's a park that really impressed me in a lot of areas, especially when it comes to its major thrill rides, but also its family offerings, its theming consistency, and the way it blends humor from the Astérix universe into a physical space. At the same time, there are still some areas that feel a bit dated or inconsistent, but the direction the park is heading in feels extremely promising. Starting with the roller coasters, my standout favorites are definitely Toutatis and OzIris. OzIris and back in the day Goudurix and Tonnerre de Zeus really solidly put Parc Astérix on the map of European and global roller coaster enthusiasts, while the newer edition of Toutatis is just an incredible modern Intamin launch coaster. The theming is excellent, creates such a wonderful and honestly pretty atmosphere, while the ride itself packs a punch with its 4 launches that are all quite good. The backwards launch and airtime combination is just chef's kiss. OzIris is also impressive, in a different way. While not even that old, it feels like a classic large-scale B&M invert done quite well, honestly. It's forceful, smooth, still to this day, and has a strong visual presence in the spectacular looking Egyptian area of the park. Together, these two rides really form the backbone of the park's thrill lineup at the moment. On the other end of the spectrum, Goudurix is certainly an interesting ride. I didn't hate it as much as I thought I would, but I also didn't particularly enjoy it. It certainly is one of the more rough Vekomas out there that I've done. It still plays an important role in the park's lineup as a multi-inversion coaster, but compared to the newer editions, it definitely feels like it belongs to a different era. Also, theming wise, it looks alright, but it's definitely nothing special. One of the biggest surprises for me was Tonnerre de Zeus. I honestly went into it with very mixed expectations, but I ended up enjoying it a lot more than I thought I would. The layout is genuinely excellent, especially in terms of airtime and pacing. It has that out-of-control wooden coaster feeling that can be really fun when done well. That being said though, I do think the ride experience is held back by roughness. I suspect the new trains after the remodel a few years ago play a big role in that. Obviously, Tonnerre de Zeus definitely still has its incredible moment. The airtime is still excellent and the layout is strong enough that I ended up riding it multiple times in a row, despite the mild rearrangement of my spine. It might actually still be my second favorite wooden coaster behind Ghost Rider at Knott's Berry Farm, and I even prefer it over a ride like Troy at Toverland. But Tonnerre de Zeus might just be a little bit too much for the average guest. As for Pégase Express and family attractions, one of the best surprises in the park for me was Pégase Express. I think it is a near perfect family coaster. It manages to include a bit of everything without ever becoming too intense. The forward launch, lift hill, storytelling element, and backward launch all work together really well. It's exactly the kind of attraction that fills an important gap in a park like this. If I had to criticize something about the ride, I would say that a bit more vegetation or theming around the track would go a long way. But even as it stands, it's a fantastic experience. Gerstlauer is killing it with these rides. They're fun for little kids while also having just enough thrills to keep thrill seekers satisfied. The park also added a Gerstlauer spinning coaster recently, and I'm gonna try with the pronunciation, say Toutatis. While I've personally not done this ride, it looks like another stellar addition to the park's family offering. The park also offers several decent to solid water rides, which are great for a hot summer's day, as well as plenty of shows and a madhouse, Le Défi de César, which is honestly not aging the best. It looks like it has lost its former glory, and it does not use its former pre-shows anymore, since COVID, I believe. If you've done other madhouses, you can definitely give this one a miss, although it's one of the few indoor experiences the park currently offers. But more on that later. I also want to mention Toutatis again, from an operations perspective. The operations on Toutatis are consistently excellent. The ride crew seems very efficient and trains were dispatched about as quickly as can be expected, which helped maintain good throughput. One downside is that row requests don't seem to be a thing, or at least not commonly honored, not even on a more quiet day. I've surprisingly seen some people say it can ride rough, but I personally didn't experience that at all. It felt extremely smooth, with the launch section being wild and I guess slightly bumpy, but in a way that actually enhances the airtime moments in intensity, and it just felt fun and out of control, in a good way. The layout is excellent overall. The first launch is fun, the slow inversion adds a bit of uniqueness, and the switch track section is the highlight of the entire ride. Going forward and then immediately backwards with airtime is a brilliant sequence. The top head I felt was better than anticipated. The holding brake did not bother me. In fact, I thought it added anticipation rather than breaking the flow. The final half of the ride is slightly less memorable compared to the first half, but the stall is still a strong element, while the final inversion doesn't quite deliver the whip or intensity I hoped for. Nonetheless, it's still one of the best modern coasters in Europe. One of the strongest aspects of Parc Astérix is its theming and visual identity. The park has a very strong sense of personality, rooted in the Asterix comics, and it shows everywhere. The entrance area is a great example of this. It looks clean, well maintained, and vibrant. That same level of quality carries throughout most of the park, especially in areas like the Egyptian section, the Greek area, and the central village. The Egyptian area in particular is one of the best themed sections. OzIris fits perfectly into it, and the atmosphere feels immersive without being overly serious. The new expansions of the Egyptian area seem to be done to an extremely high standard. You can really tell they are here for competition with the mouse down the road, and they are meaning business. The Greek area also works well, and smaller attractions like the flying carpet ride fit nicely into the overall theme. However, not every area feels equally strong. There are parts of the park that feel noticeably more dated, especially around the lake and some of the older ride areas. Guderix's surroundings and nearby structures feel like they belong to an earlier phase of the park's development. That said, it doesn't ruin the experience or anything. It just highlights where future investment is still needed. The indoor section is just kind of weird, it's just kind of there. Old streets with nothing to do, it is clear that this once offered way more to do. Right now the area feels like a medieval section of the back rooms. One thing I really appreciated is how deeply the park embraces the humor and world of Asterix. It beautifully and humorously shows the cartoony versions of Gaulish, Roman, ancient Greek, and ancient Egyptian cultures. References to Toutatis as a Celtic god are woven into the environment in effective ways. It's exactly the kind of detail that makes the park feel authentic to the comics. That balance between being a beautiful theme park and embracing its cartoonish identity is something Parc Astérix does very well. It doesn't try to ever be overly realistic. It leans into its source material consistently and exaggerates it in a way that feels intentional and fun. As someone who grew up reading the Asterix comics, and you can see some of the ones that I still have to this day, that connection definitely enhances the experience for me. It feels done with the right intentions and love for the world of Asterix. It truly feels like stepping into a familiar world that has been expanded into physical space. I do believe there's some weaker offerings like Tras de Hourra, which honestly was probably a bit disappointing for me. I've ridden other bobsled style coasters before, and this one felt noticeably rougher than I expected. The layout itself is fine, and it's a bit longer than the other ones I've done, but it didn't really stand out in any way. Looking ahead, I think Parc Astérix's future is very bright. They are currently working on adding an indoor roller coaster, which is, in my opinion, exactly what the park needs. A year-round weatherproof attraction that appeals to families. It'll help balance the park's lineup and make it more resilient in bad weather conditions. The upcoming dark ride also looks promising. That said, I do think the park would benefit from having more than just one dark ride in the long term. It does feel like a gap in the current lineup. A family-focused dark ride, like one themed around Idefix or Dogmatics in English, Asterix Courageous Little White Terrier, would be a great addition. Something lighthearted, colorful, and accessible to younger guests would strengthen the park's family appeal, even when competing with the mouse down the road. Long term, I also think Goodrix will eventually need to be replaced, and I do believe that they've hinted at Goodrix being replaced in the future. When that happens, I hope it becomes a substantial thrill coaster with inversions, something that maintains that role in the park's lineup. I would love to see Parc Astérix get France's or even potentially Europe's first tilt coaster. Beyond that, I could also see a future hypercoaster fitting well into the park. I believe the park should continue focusing on strengthening its balance between family attractions and world-class thrill rides. That balance is what makes Parc Astérix unique compared to parks that are purely family-oriented, like the nearby Disneyland Paris, or purely thrill-focused, which I do not see as desirable at all, like its sister park Walibi Holland or Thor Park in the UK. I also love the idea of expanding into new themed areas based on different regions featured in the Asterix comics. There is so much creative potential there. A Scandinavian area, a Lusitanian, ancient Portuguese area, or even a Spanish-inspired section could all work really well. I think the Londinian concept and its future roller coaster is a perfect example of this working well. A satirical ancient version of London, complete with exaggerated landmarks and humorous interpretations of modern life. It fits the tone of the comics perfectly. Expanding that idea to other cities and cultures would be a wonderful next step. Parc Astérix is already home to some amazing looking hotels, and they are still actively building some more beautiful looking hotels and accommodation. Overall, Parc Astérix is a park with a very strong identity and an extremely bright future. It already has world-class attractions in Toutatis and OzIris, a strong supporting lineup, and one of the most cohesive thematic styles in Europe. At the same time, it still has some areas that need investment and look a bit dated. In the grand scheme of things, I definitely do believe Parc Astérix is still a bit underrated. It's a lot better of a park than a lot of people give it credit for. Even before the addition of Toutatis, it was already quite a strong park. But with the addition of Toutatis, it is finally a must-visit destination park for roller coaster enthusiasts. But I think above all, what stands out the most to me is the direction it is heading in. The park feels like it's actively improving every single area, expanding and refining itself piece by piece, which, truth be told, cannot be said of every park out there. If this continues, Parc Astérix has the potential to grow into one of the most visited and best all-around theme parks in not just France but all of Europe. Now, I'd love to know your thoughts on Parc Astérix in Playly France. Thank you for watching. That's all folks. I'll see you on the next one on Looporama.